Guys, it's our last show. We gotta go.
Hey, we gotta go already. All right, let's go. Guys, grab your Starbucks. Let's go. We have a show.
Reese, we have our last show. We need to go now. Robin, it's time to read the scripts instead of the books.
We gotta hurry up, you know.
Go.
Hello and welcome to our final show for the season of NAIT NewsWatch.
Yes, that's right, our final show. This will be the last time we get to sit in these chairs. But throughout the year, we have worked on so many stories and features that we will showcase this evening. Our first feature of the night is about a group of people who are facing some major challenges.
Yes, Ava, trans people take up only 1% of our population and are facing discrimination from our own government.
Our Robin Prevost has more on what it's like living as a trans person in Alberta.
Thanks, guys. I'm Robin Prevost with NAIT NewsWatch Extras, and as a non-binary person myself who considers themselves under the trans umbrella, I've seen firsthand some of the obstacles that trans people face here in a more conservative province like Alberta. From a rise in anti-trans legislature to growing risk among our youth to suffer from depression and suicide, as well as longer wait times to get gender-affirming care, if you can even access it. Join me as we step into the lives of what it's like to be a trans Albertan.
Trans rights are human rights!
Trans people have come under fire due to several anti-trans laws being put up for vote this past month. Bills that will affect trans youth looking to get gender-affirming care, being able to use their preferred name and pronouns in school, as well as participate in school sports as their preferred gender. Many people have gone to protests like this one to argue against these decisions that will have such a big impact on trans youth.
It's all about the kids, because they're our future. We want to make sure that they can be, alive and well in a world that supports them and loves them. Alive more than anything, because we know that the rates of suicide and healthline calls have just monumentally increased since some of this stuff has come to pass.
It's in Mexico, actually. That haircut is wild.
Mason knew who he was from a young age, and now, despite some family backlash, has tried to stay true to his authentic self.
I've wanted top surgery since I was 12 years old. I don't like the pitch of my voice. I would always feel somewhat bitter when people would perceive me as a woman, even before I knew I was trans, without realizing the reason for that. And then in 2020, the start of the year, I was able to cut my hair, and a couple years later, in June of 2022, I started testosterone.
Even though he was able to get the care he needed due to these new bills, others might have a harder time.
It has made me more concerned whether I'll be able to access gender-affirming care in the future or not. Luckily, as someone who's already had top surgery and been on T and is not a minor, it won't impact me as much as it would a minor, but still that inherent fear that they might cut off access to testosterone is still there.
Despite these obstacles, there's still hope to be found and safe places to go to.
Way to find your community, even if that's just like an online space so that you can talk to other people, knowing that you won't be judged, and who can help you find resources. So if HRT is banned where you live, then other trans people might be able to help you get it in a different way.
Despite efforts to smother our light, trans people will continue to survive and work towards a better, kinder future. This has been Robin Prevost, NAIT NewsWatch Extras.
Every day, the decision to drive under the influence takes lives and leaves families devastated. And for one local man, the pain of losing his aunt to a drunk driver is a wound that hasn't fully healed yet.
His story is a heartbreaking example of how one decision can change lives. Our Rebecca Mann shares his story and the lasting impact of this tragedy.
Thanks, guys. I'm standing outside Anthony Davis's home where he spoke about the heartbreak of losing his aunt to a drunk driver 7 years ago. For him, the pain hasn't faded. It's a daily reminder of how one person's reckless decision can shatter lives. He's hoping his story will convince others to think twice before driving under the influence.
It's complicated, right? Grief is complicated, generally.
One mistake of driving under the influence can change everything, and for thousands of families, this mistake would have effects far greater than one may understand. According to Mothers Against Drunk Driving, around 1,250 people pass away each year due to impaired driving. One family affected from a drunk driving incident is that of Laura Chafee's.
When you lose a family member, especially someone that you've known your whole life, it's different than if you, say, just lose someone that you only knew a year or two, right?
Seven years have passed since the tragic loss of Anthony's aunt Laura. She was traveling in Red Deer with some friends when a drunk driver, driving on the wrong side of the road, crashed into them. She sadly passed away on impact.
Reminisce, you could say, about the many good moments there were, of course. And it does also come with a sort of bitterness of, well, what if this person did something a little bit different or chose a different route home, per se. How one small action like that can really completely change the trajectory of someone's life. Whether it's the victim or the victim's family, of course.
Laura passed in August of 2017. Anthony was only 15 years old at the time of her passing.
It brought this feeling of unknown, of like what's gonna change. Like you don't really know. You don't know how things are gonna change, or if things are gonna change, or in what ways. Especially going into the holiday season around Thanksgiving and Christmas and the family get-togethers. You wonder if it's like gonna change the mood of the events or the get-togethers that you have. It can be a little confusing at times, especially when you're a bit younger, and you haven't lost very many people in your life, right? And it can be kind of distressing in that way. Just learning how to deal with grief.
For families affected by intoxicated driving, the pain will never truly fade. Their stories serve as reminders to us all. If you're impaired, don't get behind the wheel. Call a friend or a taxi and be safe. I'm Rebecca Mann with NAIT NewsWatch Extra.
The NAIT hockey team has been on fire this season with a campaign that's been nothing short of phenomenal.
The team has had a season for the ages, but one player stands out as an inspiration. Goalie Ella Howard, and her story is amazing, and our Peyton Schwartz has more.
Thanks, guys. Ella Howard, the unstoppable force for the NAIT women's hockey team. But what drives this talented goalie to push herself to the limit? For Ella, it's not just about making saves, it's about overcoming the daily challenges of living with type 2 diabetes. As she suits up for her international team, we'll take a closer look at the grit and determination that fuels her remarkable journey. Ella Howard is a goalie for the NAIT women's hockey team. Similar to the long line of talented Ooks goalies, Ella loves hockey and has her whole life, but there's some things that set her apart.
Sure. So I grew up playing in the UK.
Hailing from Milton Keynes, England, Ella started playing hockey when she was just 6 years old. She is in her first season with the Ooks and settling into the ACAC. With 4 wins in 5 games and posting a .944 save percentage, Ella has not only fit in but has dominated. Ella has also been chosen to represent her home country of Great Britain at the Olympic qualifiers later this month and has done so before. This time things were a little more difficult, being well over 6,000 kilometers from her home.
When I was around 14 years old, I think, I entered the national team system. So I've been in it all through my time playing hockey, really. And regarding making the team, they do a lot of video analysis because obviously I'm so far away. If I am back home and there's a camp I can attend, I will. But for the most part, it's a lot of video analysis.
Ella is also in her first year of the business program at NAIT. While playing for the Ooks, managing a student-athlete lifestyle can be difficult on anyone. Having practice all week, games on the weekend, and one off day on Sundays to deal with assignments or prepare for upcoming exams, but Ella embraces the challenges laid in front of her while still striving for more, something that has impressed not only her teammates, but her coaching staff as well.
I think definitely, obviously balancing academics, and being an athlete on top of it is huge. And then twofold, like representing her own country, being named a national team member, I think only adds to the ladies that we have in the room trying to strive towards greatness.
Ella goes through a lot of adversity. Being a student athlete, as well as having type 1 diabetes, she uses this as motivation to better herself and prepare herself to represent Great Britain internationally.
I was, I think, 5 years old. I actually found out on Halloween, so it was a pretty bad Halloween for me as a kid. We went trick-or-treating and I had to give all my good stuff to my brother.
Ella stays light about her condition, but she does recognize that her preparation can be much more rigorous than fellow teammates. She uses a continuous glucose monitor at all times, and the numbers on the monitor matter just as much on the ones on the scoreboard.
Wake up in the morning, first thing I do, test the blood sugar, eat what I think is a good breakfast, eat what I think is a good lunch, do the appropriate calculations, and then all through the time at the rink. So taping my stick, doing warm-up, and just watching those numbers, seeing where they're trending and trying to adjust so that they're in the right place come game time.
Ella's inspiring story of perseverance and power has many chapters remaining until it is over, but it already provides a light for people with type 1 diabetes or anyone. Obstacles can become stepping stones rather than setbacks. With NAIT NewsWatch, I'm Peyton Schwartz.
Coming up after the break, we take a deeper look into a local artist in Edmonton.
And a local distillery making an impact on the community. Just outside of Leduc, a local distillery is more than just a place to sip fine spirits.
That's right, it's a place where community and craftsmanship blend together seamlessly, and I went to go take a look at what makes this distillery so special. Righand Distillery, located just outside of Leduc, is owned and founded by Jeff Stewart. This distillery is a local business that has built a community within the company and locally. Jeff has made it his goal to build relationships and brew a company with morals.
We have a policy that anybody that walks through the door looking for a donation for a silent auction for their kid's soccer team or hockey team or that sort of thing, it's an automatic yes when they come through the door. And you don't see that at a lot of bigger companies. We also have kind of selected 3 main core principles that we support a little more than the others. The first is Indigenous reconciliation. So we have a formal corporate Indigenous reconciliation program that we follow. We train our staff in Indigenous history.
The 35-foot teepee on the property is used as a classroom to educate his employees on their Indigenous values. He also cross-trains every single person in the distillery in multiple positions so they learn how to value each other. An employee spoke to his character as a boss and an entrepreneur.
I've definitely seen him grow. He's not afraid to try anything different and new. He's a go-getter, so he'll go after what he wants.
One furry employee has been there from the start and represents the company's journey, starting out as a puppy and growing into something more.
Charlie Shooter's been with us since we started. We got her as a puppy, and back then our business was kind of like a puppy. It was still growing, and some of our products were still in development, especially our whiskeys. So we actually put a picture of her on the label of our unaged whiskey. And on the back we wrote, just like this puppy's gonna grow up and turn to something amazing, like Charlie, who's our Walmart greeter really, that whiskey ended up turning into something amazing too.
Along with Charlie Shooter being a symbol for the distillery, there's multiple carvings outside. There's one in particular to symbolize the Humboldt Broncos tragedy, called the Humboldt Angel. Jeff Stewart partnered with his friend and local artist Ryan Villiers to create a piece of art to touch people's hearts. Hard work and dedication always comes together to make art pieces, and especially this one right here, and of course the Humboldt Angel. Jeff Stewart and Ryan Villiers came together to create that carving, and from business partner and artist, they have created something beautiful.
Jeff just not being a friend, but allowing me to have my stuff there. It's good for people to appreciate the art when they go through. And now, as you know, Jeff hosts his own annual chainsaw carving competition, and I've been there twice. Won it this year. It's pretty cool, and what he's trying to develop around there, have artwork around there. It's a whole new facade that nobody in Alberta that I know of does as a business.
In 2018, the carvings started out as slabs of wood glued together, and over the span of 3 months and many late nights, the Humboldt Angels slowly came together. Ryan brought the design to Jeff, and they finished up the carving only 2 days before the Humboldt Broncos season opener.
We spent probably 3 months working until 2 or 3 in the morning every night on the thing, and when they had the season opener the following year, we drove down there. Ryan and I, one of the fellows that owns Timberline chainsaws in the West End, and our 2 welders that built the platform for it, and we set it up in the arena and presented it to the families. And when we did it, it was absolutely not a dry eye in the place.
I'm Ava Warrens with NAIT NewsWatch Extra.
Speaking of craftsmanship, I was able to get a hold of a local artist that makes intricate structures in various cities.
He's featured in one exhibit for the Art Gallery of Alberta's 100th anniversary. Take a look and listen.
A lot of the lectures are about process, about my development as an artist. And so it's very easy to give a talk if it's about yourself. That's one thing.
That was Clay Ellis, an Edmonton contemporary artist whose piece was featured in AGA 100 Act 1, Earth to Eternity. You might have seen this piece before. It's otherwise known as Jimmy's Leg, and it was made back in 2003. You may have seen these metallic structures and these polychromatic structures as well. But how does AGA decide that? And how did it all start for him?
Exhibitions they can put together in a number of ways. Not all the work necessarily has to come from their collection, so they can borrow from private citizens or from other galleries or other institutions to put an exhibition together. They can pick up traveling shows, but in this case, I think most of the work is in their collection. I think that was their goal in this case, was to provide the public with an overview of what is in their collection and how that relates to 100 years of their activities.
So while not all of his pieces appear in AGA, you may have seen this one in Winston Churchill Square. And you also may have seen this, which was actually an essay of his works.
I started working in ceramics. The pieces that I was making grew in size, and they became too large for me to fire successfully. So I decided to start working in concrete. So I was taking clay and using it as a material, and then making molds and casting in concrete. So it was what I considered to be the limitation of the material for what I wanted to do that spurred me to change materials.
Clay also gained international fame by being invited to places like France and England.
I was invited to a number of workshops, and travel became something that was very important to me.
I did a bit of digging as well, and he was also featured in a French article from the National Center of Plastic Arts.
For a long while, I had the opportunity to travel every year, at least every year, sometimes more, and to work in different places.
For Clay, he has a very specific method on how to install these things.
So my focus is on getting all of those component parts to work in a way that creates a level of interest for me. And so you kind of hope that people that are interested in looking approach looking at art in a similar way.
So, just like any other artist or person, they always have a story, especially in its structures.
It is a piece that you can look at and move around, and you can make all of the connections by yourself.
He gained his artistic fame in the 1980s, and in 1998, he swapped from those metal pieces to these polychromatic pieces like these ones here back in 2022. If you want to see more of his works, visit clayellisart.com or visit the Peter Robinson Gallery. I'm Eugene Jacob with NAIT NewsWatch Extra. By the way, It's gift giving season, and there's many markets across Edmonton where you can find that special gift for that special someone.
That's right, Eugene, and there's no better way than to spend your money on unique art created by Canadian artists. Our Kylie Betts went to go explore one of these markets last week.
Thanks, guys. So there's still a mail strike going on right now, and your presents may be lost in the mail. But you can go visit an Edmonton market and grab something cute and unique for the people that you love.
Yes, I've never got the soup, but usually I stock up on other.
The Signatures Butterdome Craft Sale is back in Edmonton. The annual event, starting in 1990, hosts 225 vendors from all over Canada. Vendors have opened up shop and will be staying for 4 days.
I really do love showing my art. It's a reflection of who I am, and I think as a second career, you go through life and you have your careers, you raise your kids, and you develop and you change over the years. And now as a second career, it's an opportunity to get out and display what I really, really love doing. It actually, when you look at my work, there's always an element of it that's a reflection of me.
From beautiful artwork to stocking stuffers, this venue is timed perfectly for the Christmas season. Vendors are able to present their work and share it with Edmontonians.
Not only is this a place that you can come to support local artists, starting entrepreneurs, and ones that have been doing this for a long time, like 24 years, you can also find unique pieces that are one of a kind, and you won't be able to find them anywhere else, just right here in Edmonton.
Yeah, it's a great way to support the Canadian economy. It's a great way to help your fellow Canadians out. It's also a great way to find something unique. There's products here that you're not going to find at big box retailers or you're going to find online. So it's a great way to get that special gift for that special person.
The cost to be a vendor at this event is around $1,100, and for shoppers, general admission is $10 a person. This event will return next year if you don't have a chance to check it out this year. With NAIT NewsWatch Extra, I'm Kylie Betts.
Coming up after the break, we get to learn a little bit about the person who names our streets.
And we get to learn what it takes to adjust a workplace from fall hazards.
Being educated in workplace safety is very important. Remember the WHMIS symbols we learned about in school every year?
Oh, do I remember. However, our Curtis Goodrum went to learn about a different workplace hazard, falling.
Well, as you can see, I'm right behind here, the First Aid and Safety Training Services facility, and it is about fall protection. Fall protection is super important, and it's also something not a lot of people are educated on.
On doing the adjustments on the harness.
This course is made to give workers hands-on experience with fall protection equipment. The course goes over why protecting your fall is essential to workplace safety. For many industries, this is a valuable course to learn and is part of many courses at the First Aid and Safety Services.
All right, so we train in First Aid and CPR, standard, basic. We also train fall protection, H2S Alive, common safety orientation, and confined space.
This course teaches the skills necessary to protect yourself by learning how to take care of equipment, the importance of procedures, and assessing fall hazards. Industries like the oil and gas rely on Energy Safety Canada courses to keep their workers safe.
The fall protection one mostly. Then there's one that's for working on, say, scissor lifts and man lifts. So there's kind of courses for most anything that you might, most kind of safety related thing that you might be doing in, say, the oil field or most general construction kind of jobs as well.
Fall protection and training come from oil and gas companies. However, some people might just come from the street or even other industries just to learn how to protect themselves if they're ever in that kind of danger.
Like every year there is, like the stats show in Alberta, that we have like around 1,500 people who fall from height that are typically injured in some form or other, and there's like 5 to 8 workers who die roughly every year.
With worker safety becoming more and more important every year, educating workers on how best to save themselves is to many companies a very worthwhile investment. With NAIT NewsWatch, I'm Curtis Goodrum.
Many people use social media to pass time. However, it can be used as a powerful tool to gain exposure.
Especially for sports teams in small towns. Our Reese Revel brings us more.
Thanks, guys. And, well, for a lot of the rinks, they'll be closed over the Christmas break with teams getting a bunch of time off for Christmas. But for the social media and content creators of those teams, they'll be working diligently all over the Christmas holidays to be creating content and bringing it to you, much like the Gibbons Broncos.
For lesser-known junior hockey teams like the Gibbons Broncos, it can be a challenge to attract players and stay competitive. Recently, many teams have began using social media to grow. For players, it's not only changed the culture of the team, but the support they receive as well.
Awesome, like I'm still getting sent videos from 2 years ago in the playoffs and how many people are in the barn for playoffs, and we show it to everybody, inviting them to come out for games still to this day. So it's pretty cool to see. Guys are coming to the team because they saw videos 3 years ago, and all the kids in the stands giving us fist bumps every game want to be in one of those videos one day, so it's really cool to see.
However, finding the right content for these pages can be hard to do alone, and especially without quality video of games. Videographers and content creators have been a key part in navigating these new waters and creating lasting memories for players.
After the pandemic, teams kind of, were able to sit down and realize, like, all right, how are we, how can we change the way that we're attracting new fans, and how can we, expand our brand a little bit.
Since creating a social media presence in 2022, the Broncos have gained over 550 followers on Instagram and 2,900 followers on TikTok.
I think we've grown exponentially, to be honest with you, in terms of both players interested in playing for us, as well as fans and spectators coming to our games.
Since then, the team has made 3 straight playoff appearances, won an NJHL championship, and qualified for provincials twice. With NAIT NewsWatch, I'm Reese Revel.
The Oliver community in Edmonton has been undergoing a name change for many years now and has almost finalized the new name.
With lots of controversy surrounding the name change, and Frank Oliver, who the community is named after this renaming, took time to complete. Our Sam Spady joins us from Wigwantowin for more on the renaming.
Thanks, guys. The Oliver community is changing its name, and we sat down with an expert on what exactly goes into a name change.
The process was long, but thorough.
The Oliver community has been undergoing a name change since 2015. Although Frank Oliver helped put Edmonton on the map, he also drafted and acted upon controversial policies that illegally pushed Indigenous people off their lands. The community's name is being changed from Oliver to Wakatoan, a Cree word that means circle of friends. This name change is trying to turn a new leaf after the damage committed by Frank Oliver. The community is very strong, so this name change has been supported by many in the community.
Oliver, our neighborhood and our community was like, hey, we have this great example of something we could impact or improve on here, and can we take a look in? So there's a lot of momentum there, as well as which got the board to pass a motion saying, let's review the name Oliver. Does it still reflect the community and the neighborhood we live in, and see what other options are out there? And so that was sort of the big impetus in the beginning.
Renaming a community may sound simple, right? Just change all the signs and then pick a new name for it. Well, there's actually a lot more that goes into naming a community than you might expect. Corey Sosa is a city planner in Edmonton and part of the naming committee. He renames different streets, parks, and communities, just like this one, all around Edmonton.
My name is Corey Sousa. I'm a principal planner with the city of Edmonton.
Known as the naming guy, Corey is a key part of a team of urban planners who come up with the ideas of what things should be named around Edmonton. Corey in particular is the man behind the sign, and a big part of this is doing the research to learn what to name places.
So I do all the numbering, but what most people at the city know me as, and this is where the naming piece comes in, when we don't number the roads and we name them, I work with the naming committee. The naming committee is made up of 7 volunteers, people that are from Edmonton, and we're appointed by our city council to make decisions on their behalf related to name.
Calls to rename the Oliver community were accelerated in 2020 by the Black Lives Matter movement, which caused the Community League and the City of Edmonton to take a look at the history behind Frank Oliver and started an awareness campaign to start a conversation about changing this community's name.
Frank Oliver was particularly racist, like even towards like Ukrainians and Germans and Dutch and Jewish people. Like if you weren't British like him, like if you were an Irishman or Scotsman, you were like treated like garbage. And he really used his influence. I mean, he's also done very important things, and that's why it was such a challenge to deal with this name, because he helped establish the province of Alberta. He pushed for Edmonton to be the capital city of Alberta.
The name's goal was to show a strong sense of community. However, some have criticized the name due to it being difficult to spell. There's also one major issue the city has ran into.
The other challenging thing as well is there are accents, so not all systems can use those accents. So one thing that we encourage people to do is capitalize all the letters.
All the hard work that Corey and the Community League have done over the past couple of years will finally pay off on January 1st when Oliver's name is removed and officially changed to Wakatoan. Sam Spady, NAIT NewsWatch.
Well, that's it. Our last show for NAIT NewsWatch 2024. We are so grateful for everything we learned and experienced in this program.
We want to say thank you to our instructors for guiding us. Thank you, Kim, Aaron, Chris, Jeanette, and Ruth for an amazing year and a half. We aim to make you proud, and for one last time this year, from all of us here at NAIT NewsWatch, have a good night.